20,
Okay,
20.
here we go.
Yeah, that's pretty much it on that.
We are live.
Welcome, everyone, to the Military Veteran Family YouTube channel. My name is Jesse Almanza, retired gunnery sergeant, United States Marine Corps.
Charles Prentice, United States Air Force disabled veteran.
Hoorah. Hey, listen, last week, if you recall, Charles, we talked about coming into the military. What
Yeah,
what prompted us?
we jumped on board the Wayback Wagon, and we went way back.
Yeah,
way back before, especially like with you, a lot of these before some of these people that we have on this the military veteran family channel who are tuning in were even born when you went into the military.
Interesting you say that, because I did come across a gentleman that says I wasn't even born then. Well, you know what? That's okay, because we're trying to kind of open up dialogue here for those of us who have been in the military, those of us who have the story. Our stories are left untold, and we need to tell our stories. And I think sometimes we feel that we don't have to. Yeah, I get it. Some stuff you don't want to say. I'm in the same boat. Okay, I'm with you 100%. But there are some things in there that, whether you know it or not, if you kind of go back, or if you not kind of, but if you go back and remember these things, chances are you're going to be back on track with things that you like to do, things that you like, things that you remember from back in the days. I personally have a question for all of you guys. Is that when you decided to join the military, how did your families take the news? I mean, what did they say? What did they tell you?
Good luck. No.
Good luck. You're in the Air Force now.
Mine was. I decided I was tired of going to college, and on the way back from college, went by the recruiter. And my father said, "If that's what you want to do, I'll support you." And my mom said, "Well, it worked for your dad, for 26 years, so."
Oh, 26 years. Yeah. Wow.
Mine is, I really didn't want to make a career out of it, so I didn't end up making a career out of it. But yeah, it was one of those, would I go back and do it again? 100% yes. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I think a lot of us think that way and stuff. I know I was working back in when the towers were taken over, and when his airplanes zoomed in, and that was some very powerful moments. I'd just been out a while, and I'm thinking to myself, I got to get back in. And a lot of you joined as a result of that, and I think that was your ultimate decision at that point in time to go and defend the country and say that's not going to happen.
I have to point out again, thank you, Cody, for tuning in to us. Like, subscribe, and share, because he's up on chat. He loves us.
All right, there we
Says
go.
We're a great channel.
All right. Well, we may get him on board one of these days to talk to him a little bit more, because you know what? I'm sure you have a story, just like we all do. We all have those stories. But here's the way I see it. 4% of us. Okay, we have 100% sitting here on our table here, but only 4% of that 100 take that step to join to protect your country. Does that make any sense at all? I mean,
no.
99.6% do not do that. Do not go, and that's okay. That's. I'm not saying that everybody should. The draft stopped back in 1973, I believe, or somewhere around that time frame. So back in the days, people had to, if nothing else, go down there and sign up and stuff, and they would call you in, and you would go in the military either way. Either way, you don't do that anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. But today, only 4% represent the entire country when they actually joined the military, and that is awesome. I personally, I'm going to tell all of you, I'm proud of you guys and gals that do that. Being in the military for the amount of time that I was in, I'd say, Charles mentioned a while ago, if given the opportunity, I'd go back in again, and I would be the exact same way too. I mean, if they could only find me a job where I could sit there and I don't have to move around too much,
Yeah, mine
Uh,
mine is if I had it done my way, that 4% would be totally different
yeah.
because it would be mandatory 2 years when you graduate high school, and
Oh yeah.
even if you drop out, you got a mandatory 2 years to serve in the military.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, yeah, right off the bat, that when all of us go into boot camp, each and every one of you that are tuning in or whatever, when you go into boot camp, you're going to learn a lot of stuff. I mean, you're going to discipline, self-respect, you're going to earn, you're going to learn a lot of things. And that's just in boot camp. Boot camp is going to straighten you out, get you out of your way of thinking civilian wise and get you into a category of, following direction, following orders. I mean, sometimes we don't like to follow orders. Sometimes we think orders are not good. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Each and every one of you, I'm sure most of you can relate to this. When I was in the military, I didn't like, and I mentioned it last week, I didn't like going to these training exercises sometimes. I mean, going in the gas chamber, doing this and doing that. But you know what? In the long run, when I needed to use that equipment, when it counted, when I really needed to know where I was at in the middle of nowhere to read a compass, to read a map, or even, be prepared and ready for the worst thing in the world, which is gas. Be prepared for it. That's when it counts. So, going through all that training, learning all this discipline, getting all that stuff underneath the belt and stuff, 99.6% of the people will never, ever, ever experience that. And I feel my wife and we're having some sort of a conversation this past weekend, and we were watching all the devastation going out there in Iran and all that. And can you imagine being in your house and all of a sudden a bomb goes off and right next to you, and you have to run for cover and do? I mean, it's realistically speaking, it's probably never going to happen in the United States, but it could. You never know.
that's
You,
true.
you never know. So being prepared, those 4% of us that did join to protect our nations, we should be proud, and you should continue being proud. It doesn't matter whether you served a little bit of time or a long period of time. You did more than the other 99% did.
Hmm.
You're already ahead of the program right there.
Yeah.
You're already in
My
there.
my question now, Jesse, since we're climbing aboard the Wayback wagon, you went in what year?
1973. Don't you forget that.
1973.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 1973, what song was
Oh,
on when you went into basic training? When you signed up, said, "Hey, I will serve and give up and including my life."
yeah.
What song was on?
Yeah, those of you who do not remember or do not know of this famous group, it wasn't the group that created my favorite song. It was an individual of that group, which was Paul McCartney from the Beatles, from previous Beatles. Remember Paul McCartney, the Beatles?
If you don't know
Yeah,
Paul
yeah,
McCartney,
yeah. I know you know
you're
Paul
real,
McCartney.
real young.
Yeah, Paul McCartney's number one song when I joined, when I went to boot camp, was a title was called "My Love," Mylove.
So that's when he was no longer with the Beatles. He had his own group, the
Yeah,
Wings.
Paul
Paul
McCartney
McCartney and
and
Wings.
Wings. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know what? The only thing I saw about that, when I go back and reflect on that song, I look at that video from back in the days. Remember, not too long ago, they were showing all these videos on TV and stuff, and you could tune into them. I don't see them; I mean, they're still there, but you have to tune into a certain station for it. But all I could see from the Wings is this lady sitting behind there with a big old dress, just kind of with just like blowing in the winds. I'm like, huh, maybe that's the wing part of
the,
the
the,
the group.
the back in the day, the music
Uh,
video television, which that
uh,
came out way back then. So you tune in
yeah,
and get to watch
yeah,
your favorite music. Also, not only listen to it.
yeah.
Mine was in June 22nd, 1984 is when I actually went in, and the number one song was "The Reflex" by Duran Duran. Uh, Reagan was president.
Reagan.
Um, in the UK,
Ronald
it
Reagan.
was Two Tribes by Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and Maggie Thatcher was the prime minister
Maggie
of.
Thatcher. Well,
Yep.
well, I
So,
don't know about all that.
what? Like, do you remember what movie was a number one hit back then?
I don't remember the movies and stuff. I mean, I really don't. I know who my president was during that time. That was Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon. Back in those days, Richard Nixon was my
I'm not a
presidency.
crook.
Yeah, I'm not a crook. I'm not a crook. We're not a crook. We're all crooks, you know?
Yeah,
That's it. Bags are.
the movies that were out. There were two of them that were real big hits. Was Star Trek Three, Search
Uh,
for Spock, and one that even some of these younger kids probably remember, or they remember the newer versions of it, is Ghostbusters.
oh, yeah. Ghostbusters. I remember Ghostbusters. They made several movies after
Yeah,
Ghostbusters
they
since
made
then. They
one
made
not
a
too
ton of.
long ago.
Yeah.
Another addition to the
Really?
whole Ghostbuster franchise.
Wow.
So I guess it's going to happen like what is it, Fast and Furious,
Yeah.
and some of these Rocky was Sylvester Stallone kept making Rocky movies,
Yeah.
and I don't think he's made another one in a couple of years. Maybe he'll make another one. I don't know.
You know, the more I go into these kind of way back in the days and stuff, I kind of think about, building our character, our morals, our values, our standards, and all that. A lot has to do with what and how we grew up. The type of movies we were watching. The suspense thrillers, the Ghostbuster type stuff, movies and stuff. And we go back and we don't really revisit them anymore. And lately, I have been revisiting a lot of that stuff from back in the days because I remember some things that I'm saying, wow, I remember that song. Or when I stopped drinking, because I used to drink a lot in the Marine Corps. When I stopped drinking, it's one of these things to where a song played and it was my song, Papa Top. That's my song, Papa Top. But I don't do that anymore. I haven't done that in 40, 50 years now, and it's been a while. And I'm happy about that. But the bottom line is that you associate a lot of things that you do, that you've done, and how you've grown up with what has happened in the past. And the songs that were played in the 90s, as opposed to the songs going into the 20s, I'm going to say the 20s, but I mean the 2000, the two and the three zeros, that years. They're totally different. I mean, I
Well,
don't even remember those artists anymore.
mine is because if you look back in the day, and when you get on the Wayback Wagon and you get in before the '90s, um, you didn't have the addition to stuff with your vocals,
Hmm.
and now it's auto tune. So you have some of these newer artists that if they actually had to go out and grab a mic and sing without their auto tune, you'd go, "What in the world is that noise? Who is strangling a cat?" You know.
Yeah.
But we had talented artists back then that didn't use auto tune. I mean, mine is going if you jump on the Wayback Wagon, one of my favorite groups, and basically it was two of them. It was a brother and sister act. Was Carpenters, Karen
Oh, the
Carpenter.
Carpenters. I
That
remember the
voice,
Carpenters. Yeah.
you know, just she had one of the most awesome voices. Um, and a lot of people went, "Oh, that's that bubblegum gar
Yeah.
man." Once you get, especially when you get older, you turn around and you listen to some of this. Go back and listen to some of the stuff before the 1990s. Listen to
Yeah.
some of these artists, and that's all done without auto tune.
Well, I was looking back. I was I was looking at my phone here and trying to go back to some of these songs that were played back in the '90s and stuff. And I'm sure you all remember Whitney Houston with the song title "I Will Always Love You." And there was Wonderwall by Classic. I don't know who Classic was, 1995.
Wasn't that classic?
There was one called Wannabe. Remember the Wannabe Spice Girls?
Oh,
Oh, yeah. I remember that. I remember that one. Um, oh my God, there's so many that I don't even that I don't even recall anymore as to what they are. There's one called Creep. Um, Creep. That's the name of the song, 1992. And how about No Diggy? Don't Speak. How about Nothing Compares? These kind of songs that I haven't heard in a long time. I don't even remember them. I don't remember the titles. But I tell you what, if it comes up on radio and I have a familiarization type tune to it, I'll probably end up. Well, I can't sing with the darn, but I probably end up singing to it.
Yeah, mine is. It was funny listening to the radio, driving down the road, and they had um, somebody had either phoned in or wrote to the DJ that he wanted to dedicate a song to his wife. I think she had passed or something like that. And so he said, we normally don't do um, requests like this. He says, however, for this individual, I know who he is, and I'm going to do this
Right.
dedication. And he says, here's an oldie but a goodie.
Oh, only but good.
And played the song, and I don't remember what the song was, but it's like, no, I grew up listening to that song. That's not an oldie, but a
Yeah.
goodie. And then I thought about it. I'm old.
Well,
Yeah.
I hear a lot of younger generation group peoples are into the older type of songs. When you're talking the Beatles, especially the Beatles. I don't know if you guys remember the the Monkees and
Yeah.
or Dave Clark Five, I believe, with way back in the days, or Petula Clark, or Engelbert Humperdinck. Those of you who are kind of into that mode of music and stuff.
Oh,
Tom Jones
Frank
back in the days.
Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
my youngest, and she hadn't even hit her 30s yet,
Yeah.
uh, is big into what they call vinyl. Now we called them LPs,
Yeah,
and
LPs, yeah,
and
vinyl LPs.
and so she's big into that. She likes Sinatra.
Mm.
She does some of the stuff from my era. You remember Boy George,
Yeah,
or where
yeah.
our question
Madonna,
was is he really a boy? We don't know.
or these, yeah, Boy George. Yeah, I remember Boy George. I remember that. What is that name of that favorite song? Uh, Kama Camellia.
Yeah,
That one of those. Kama. You know, I, and unfortunately, sometimes when I start singing some of these songs, they stay with me throughout the day,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm over here just bursting them out. Like I said, I can't sing with the darn, but I give it a shot. But I think that if some of you that are much younger than us, obviously, really, really, really want to see where our generation and how we grew up and what we were listening to, because I know what you guys listen to now, and I know the way the dances go and stuff, and nothing compared to what it was back in the days. But if you get into just one of these days, just start pulling out music of the 90s, music of the 2000s, and so on and so on. You'll start kind of listening to where you can. Sometimes these music, I'm not apologizing because of the way the music is today, but I don't understand it sometimes. I don't
Oh,
understand the
mine is
words. I don't.
um,
It's just. But these songs from back in the
um,
days,
see,
you
mine
know.
is I'm telling them you want to listen to it. You go back to the '60s.
No,
You start with the '50s and '60s.
that's way
Start with
back.
some of that stuff, and then work your way forward through that music. I mean, and that's stuff that we grew up with. Um, that of course, now I wasn't around in the '50s, '60s music.
Yeah,
I listened to all that. Of course, you had talked about the Beatles. I remember the
yeah,
Beatles.
yeah.
My favorite artist back then was Elvis Presley.
Oh, Elvis. Oh, yeah,
And you
that's coming
listen,
back as well
yeah,
too. Elvis is coming
you
back.
listen to
Yeah,
some of the Elvis music.
yeah.
You know, you
Love me tender. Love
yeah.
me tender. Yeah, you ain't
But
nothing but a hound dog. Those kind of things.
but once you get into the, and I'm not going to dog out the modern genre.
No, we can't do that because
The
that's
modern music. That's
that's good.
somebody
That's
has a
good.
niche for it.
Yeah,
I'm not a, what are they called, Swifties?
yeah.
People that like that one girl that just got married to the football player.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Something Swift.
It wasn't
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
something Swift. Huh?
something Swift. Yeah,
Taylor Swift.
but
I like Taylor Swift. I like her music. I like her songs. Sometimes I don't, like her little personal attitude every now and again. But she plays some good songs. Very talented young lady. I mean, so is Madonna. Very talented. I don't. I like some of the music. As a matter of fact, I got one of her vinyls, big old vinyls from back in the days when she started hitting the billboards and coming up with all these hit songs and stuff. So,
I was
you know,
never on the
yeah,
Madonna
yeah.
bandwagon.
I
Her first
again,
song, I think I listened to that one and thought, yeah, it's all right. But then
yeah.
it's like, okay, she's annoying as as an individual, so I stopped listening to it. I was still hooked on stuff that my parents
You were
listened to.
hooked on a feeling from back
Yeah,
in the
well,
day.
yeah, hooked on a feel. That's
That's
a
a
good
good song.
song. But I like artists who you don't really know the talent.
Yeah.
Say, because modern artists, like with guitar players, I don't know some of the newer guys,
Right.
that are out there,
Right.
but you want to see something that's really neat. Um, find Malaguena by Roy Clark. You can find it on YouTube. There are
You can
other
find anything on
sites. Yeah,
YouTube.
there are other sites on there. And the other one is Glenn Campbell.
Glenn
Because people
Campbell was
go,
a good artist, good
people
singer.
don't know that Glenn Campbell, and there were a whole group that were called the Wrecking Crew
Oh,
that played background. They were the studio musicians for Frank Sinatra, for Aretha Franklin, for he actually toured. Glenn Campbell toured with the Beach Boys
hmm.
when Brian Wilson was unable to tour, and so it's you look at that and you listen to the guitar, um, and you go, wow, these were some tremendous
Yeah.
artists. And it was, we're just jumping on and going, yeah, back, when
Yeah.
I was coming up in the military, this was still some of the stuff that I listened to. You ran across other guys who, because the younger guys that were coming in, they were, we'd get on the launch truck and go out, and somebody'd have a radio, and we
Yeah.
tune
A
into,
boombox.
yeah, and
Boombox.
we tune into
Yeah.
whatever radio station that we could listen to, before we had to, get out of
Yeah.
the launch wagon and launch out aircraft.
That,
And
that that's a good point, Charles. Because while serving in the military, you're not necessarily in CONUS, continental United States. A lot of times you're out, and you don't get the luxury of just pulling out a record album, tape player, whatever, and listening to your music. So you have to kind of listen and tune into who may have that equipment, because there's some songs and stuff that they play, and you're reminded of back home. You're reminded of your lovey back home and stuff. If you and your lovey want to have some romantic time together, break out old Lionel Richie sometime in the near future. It's
or before he went out on his own when he was
yeah.
with the Commodores.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So see, these are the kind of things that while serving in the military is that we take it for granted that we're here in a place to where we have accessibility to all of this. But sometimes when you're doing your duties and you're out in another country or whatever, you kind of struggle to try to find the music that you enjoy listening to. And sometimes a lot of music bypasses you, and the music goes away, and then you think about, wow, I never even heard that song before, and it's something that everybody's heard of, but you're the only one that says I've never heard it before, and it's something that's hit the top 10 or whatever. And
Yeah,
you
but
know
the other one is when you were out on patrol and got the opportunity to hear something, what song comes to mind that
oh
brings
boy.
back some of these memories of, oh yeah, I remember when, I was, you know, working night shift, I was working mids, or I was on swing shift or whatever, and we were in the shop or we were out on
Oh
patrol, and this is what we were listening to. Some of those things that, those
yeah.
come across the radio and you go, oh yeah, I
Yeah, I remember a
remember.
song. I mean, I'm not going to say the whole verse about it, but now that you're talking about that, there's this famous country song that used to have a little phrase like "Take this job and shove it."
Yep.
Is that the name of that song? Take
Mm-hmm.
this job and shove it.
Yep.
Sometimes you think about those kind of things because you're just not in a position to where you're really happy on what you're doing or where you're
Mm-hmm.
at. So I mean, your mind just kind of ticks along with it, and our mind does tick along with the music, believe it or not. When I was out overseas, or even during theater of operation, theater of war and stuff, I'm gonna be honest with you, it was Christian music all the way. All of us had Christian music. All of us. What was the name of that? Oh my God! There's oh, I don't know, Driscoll, Phil Driscoll.
Phil Driscoll.
Phil
Yep.
Phil Driscoll was like the top. Everybody had a Phil Driscoll cassette tape, and if they didn't, they sent for one at home because he had a lot of good stuff. And this is a it's
See, mine is I went a little bit different because Phil was a little bit too mellow for me.
no.
I was into Petra.
Oh, Petra's good too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was into the rock, and it was funny because I got saved and had a gentleman that I was in the military with, and we were um, getting to do. He was working with the youth, and he wanted me to help him out. So had rented the boats out from the base, and we were taking him out to the lake, and he was listening to Petra, and I was like, Tim, what is this? And
Hmm.
he said, it's Christian rock. I said, no, 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 no. Christians don't rock. and,
Well, I don't
and
know
I
about
learned,
that.
and I learned later on that Christians do rock. And I ended up buying basically every Petra album that
Ah,
was out there. And I still have my Petra collection, and I still
ah,
listen to that music, and there's, and it's stuff that, yeah, I can
yeah,
remember where I was stationed at, what I was doing when I was listening to a lot of that
yeah,
early, the Christian music. Ray Boltz was another one,
yeah,
big Christian name. And then you got later on in the years, Stephen Curtis Chapman, The Great Adventure. I remember that one. I actually saw him in concert when I was stationed out in California.
yeah.
Went, you know, the Michael W. Smiths of the world. Uh,
Yeah.
you know,
I think the idea behind going back and just listening to music from back in the days is that it kind of puts the you get into a set and setting of talking to your children, and maybe sometime someday you can kind of give them your experience, because like we said earlier, this is a channel where we want all the military family to kind of get to know their military. They're 4% of the population of the United States that are served to defend our country. We all have stories, and unfortunately, some of us do not. We just don't. We just
yeah,
don't talk about it.
and we know that they're, like the Vietnam guys. There's stuff that they
Oh
don't want
yeah,
to talk about, but man,
and that's okay.
there's those of us who need to hear these stories.
Yeah, we
Those
do.
of us who, because we've been there, like I said, my father was a Vietnam veteran. He didn't talk much about it until I came back from the desert,
Yeah,
and then we had something in common that we talked, and that's a lot of stuff that would have been missed out on with my family. We would have missed out on if he never told some of the stuff.
yeah,
He didn't talk about a lot of that, but it's,
yeah. I can relate to that. There's a organization by the name of Letters from Home. Uh, Erin Durf and her husband Dan uh, portray a lot of the music from back in the days,
mm-hmm.
World War Korea, World War II, Vietnam, and so on. Fantastic people, and you ought to look them up on YouTube and tune into some of their music, and how they bring it across to the veterans, and the population of veterans that are out there, and how they engage with them, and how they reflect on happenings that happen. And these guys have been all over I'm going to say all over the world. I know they're all over the United States every year, but it's almost like a U.S. Remember back in the days when they had a USO shows and
USO,
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, but it's not a USO show. It's just them independently. It's called Letters from Home. Tune into their, just Google them. Just go on to YouTube and just, Erin has the best voice I've ever heard. She sings, wow, awesome. But either way, tune into that so you can get some kind of an idea of what was happening during that era or that time frame, and and go back to some of this music that you used to listen to back in the days, and break it out, and listen to it and stuff, because it kind of, I mean, for me, it just kind of brings things back to life, and I remember this and I remember that and all that. But on a different topic, on a different matter, Remember those beanie bears? Those beanie babies?
Beanie Babies.
Beanie
Yeah,
babies. You guys remember those beanie
you
babies?
came from the those some of those things now. If you look them up, are worth
Yeah,
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
if you were lucky enough to save those, then dig them out of where you have them.
And you had to have the tags on them, and
Uh,
there's a whole slew of
they gotta
things
be in mint
that have to be
condition
done.
almost.
Yeah, but they're worth some money.
Eh,
Mine is I was not into the Beanie
Yeah,
Babies.
if you don't know what the beanie babies are, I mean, I'm telling you, those things took
That's from the
the.
'70s, early '70s.
I don't remember that, but I remember the Beanie Babies. No, I think it was later than that,
Later
Charles.
than that,
I think we jumped into the '80s, maybe even '90s with
maybe
the.
even
I think
'90s.
the '90s with the Beanie Babies because they were really. I remember coming back from Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and I remember my daughter was working for what was she working at? One of these Hallmark stores,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like I mean tons and tons and tons of Beanie Babies. They were expensive then. I can imagine right now the way some of them market themselves and some
Yeah,
of them are valued at, and those are
yeah.
things that kind of
Mine is back when I went in to the military. Hungry Hippos game
Hungry Hippos,
was
yeah,
one of the top, and that's come back around, and they have
Cabbage Patch,
other versions of that. I remember when Cabbage Patch kids
Cabbage
came out.
Patch.
I remember those.
Wow.
They you had old grandmas fighting each other.
Well, why do I bring this up? This is the reason behind that is that those are the kind of things that your kids and some of you were bringing to your family. You were bringing
Mm,
them Cabbage Patch. You were bringing them Beanie Babies. Those are conversation pieces. Do you remember back when when I was in the military and I
yeah,
bought you this and I got you that? And I mean, this is how conversation has started with. Even though your kids are my kids are in their 30s 40s and even though they're that age, I mean, you can still bring that up. I mean, because it just brings back a lot of memories, and memories is something that will never go away, something that we'll always have in our hearts and stuff. I don't think I don't know about you, Charles, but do you have any regrets of serving in the military at all? That there's anything that kind of tells you I never should have done it?
well, there are times where I regret that I got out
Mm,
when I got out, but I know that I would have ended up medically discharged if I didn't
mm.
hadn't have gotten out. So
Yeah, well,
it worked out. God has a plan,
right?
and God worked out things for me.
Yeah.
But you know, it's always I don't know if it was the same way with you guys in the Marines, but when you in the Air Force are saying was there's no better base than the one that you're going to, and no worse base than the
The
one
ones
that
you've
you
been.
left behind.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I've been to good bases. I mean, I served in many. I had a lot of good commanders, a lot of good leadership, a lot of good mentors, and today, right now, I'm where I'm at today because those are the individuals that put me in positions to where I knew that I had to be responsible and do things that I needed to do, follow directions, follow orders, do all of these things. Even though there's some things that I don't really appreciate, or liked, or wanted to do, but you know what? Here I am. I mean, it
yeah,
didn't. I mean, I'm still breathing every day. Thank you, Lord. And I don't have any regrets about serving. Again, when we started out earlier, I would go back in again
yep.
if the opportunity came to me. I would definitely go back.
If they decided they needed old people,
Yeah, if they need old people, yeah,
excuse me.
I'm in there. I'm in there with you and stuff. But I hope this session that we had about going back to the past, not the future, brings in some memories and stuff, and maybe it triggers you to come up with some conversations
Yep.
to talk to your family members. You don't have to be the veteran to talk. You could be the spouse, or you could be the grandchild, or you can be the daughter, the son, the aunt, mother, father, brother, sister that would start that
That
conversation
says,
because it
"Hey
doesn't always.
pops," or
Yeah,
"Hey
yeah.
grandma, what when you served, what did you do?"
There you go. There you go. That's a very
Yeah,
simple question. When you just lay it out. Yeah, that's sir. Because you are to be proud that you are the 4% of the 100% that served in the United States military. And that's got a lot to say about you already.
yeah,
You're already in the door.
yep.
You're already there and stuff.
So
Uh,
let me do something here, Jesse. First, I'm gonna throw up our address. This is a Gulf War Era Veterans Incorporated, PO Box 1302, Welcome, North Carolina 27374. If you need to get a hold of us, you can, if you know how. Some of the younger generation,
And they'll write letters.
if it came to having to write a letter to
They text
save
message you.
save their own lives, they wouldn't be able to do it. But those of you who know how to write letters, if you need to write a letter, write and tell us your story. Hey, we'll,
Oh yeah,
if we get the
definitely.
opportunity, we would like to tell somebody's story, tell your story, on on this YouTube channel. Like I said, we're military veteran family. We want to tell military veteran family.
Yeah, and if you give us permission, we can put it out on the air for you, and we can
Yep,
even invite you to come on in and join us and stuff.
yep,
We'll send you a link once we find it. We'll send you a link,
yeah. Once I
and
figure
and
that part out,
and you
I'm
can
working
connect
on
with us, and we
it.
can talk about that. I mean that we would love to do that. That's one of our hopes for later on in the future. For those of you who really want to share a story or just want to talk and come in on the air and stuff, and I mean, be happy to have you.
Yep.
You're welcome.
And
You're welcome to the
now the
channel.
big thing, what do we have coming up in August? And I'm going to put up
Oh my
the link
God.
for that.
This past weekend we talked about Gulf War era veterans. There were Gulf War era veterans is those who have served the nation from 1990, August of 1990 to now, to today. Even if you're an active duty service member, you are still considered a Gulf War era veteran, or not a veteran yet if you're active serving, but you're an individual from within the Gulf War era.
Hmm.
And that's where you're staying right now. Just like the Vietnam era, they know that they're Vietnam era. But the Gulf War Era Veteran Incorporated is hosting their third annual gala, and you can see that up on the board right there. And that gala it doesn't cost anything for the veteran and your guests. It's free. If you're in our area here, we're within the Triad area of North Carolina, better known as like Winston Salem. We've got Greensboro. We've got High Point, Clemens, Thomasville, Lexington,
Louisville.
Louisville, Mocksville. I mean, we have all of these areas around us. If you're able, this event is at Welcome in Welcome, North Carolina. Is at the Richard Childress Event Center. Those of you who do not know of Richard Childress is the owner manager of NASCAR in the region out here. So
Hmm.
he provides a big venue for those of us who are veterans, and he's a veteran lover. I mean, he loves veterans. He's not a veteran himself, but he gives a lot to the community that gives us the ability to be able to have something like this for specifically for Gulf War era veterans and their guests. And we invite you to join us if you just want to scan that little QR card right there, that QR code right there, and your registration will pop up automatically. All you have to do is fill in the information. We'll send you a welcome letter and give you any kind of update that we have between now and then. But we are pretty close. Well, we're a month and a half away now, and
Right.
we'd like to have people registered as soon as possible because we need a good number. Make sure everybody gets to eat the good food and not the pizza. If you know what I'm talking about.
We've been making
But
sandwiches for those of you who don't register.
there you go.
So here's your
Yeah,
sandwich when you come in.
yes.
What? Your name's not on the registration. Here's your sandwich.
No, but yeah, we welcome you guys. And any questions, our email address is down there. Our website is on there. You've got our actual physical address. Charles put it up on the board a little while ago. You can write us a letter, and like I said, if you want to join us, if you want to tell a story, if you got something to say, good, bad, or indifference. I mean, we obviously this is a family channel, and we want to keep it to that point there. But we welcome you. We welcome anyone,
Yeah,
and of all capacities. Even if you're from a different era, we want to hear about you as well too.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But military veteran family is it's a military either way. So thank you guys for tuning in today. We really appreciate you stopping by, and we will be back again next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Every Tuesday at 11 a.m. unless something happens, and we'll obviously announce that. But subscribe, Charles.
Like, subscribe, and share,
Okay.
because like we said, this is military veteran family. We want to get this information out. So if you like and subscribe, and you share this information, then more people get to hear um, your stories, and that's what we're all about. We're all about military veteran family. That includes spouses, uh, daughters. As Jesse goes through, normally we'll go through the list: mother, father, brother, sister,
And uncle,
uncle, aunt,
stepchildren,
yeah, nephews, all that,
right?
all
The
that good
family.
stuff. It's all
It's the
family,
family. We're all
and
family.
that's the whole thing. So, like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next week, God willing.
God
Love
bless. Have
y'all.
a good day.